From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. Radio Pilipinas World Service can also be heard on shortwave broadcast through the facilities of the United States Agency for Global Media or Voice of America on the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. I'm your host, Leo Magpayo, and this is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said the impeachment complaints filed against him collapsed because they lacked any factual or legal basis. Speaking to reporters in Malate, Manila, the president dismissed the complaints as political distractions, saying they were never a real threat to his administration. President Marcos said these things are distractions from the things that they are doing, reacting to the House Committee on Justice's move to junk two impeachment complaints for failing to meet the constitutional requirement of sufficiency in substance. The chief executive added he was never worried, noting that the allegations did not establish any legitimate grounds for impeachment. The House panel earlier ruled that the complaints filed separately by lawyer Andre De Jesus and a group led by former lawmaker Liza Masa were insufficient in substance, effectively terminating both cases at the committee level. The complaints had accused President Marcos of culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, and betrayal of public trust. With the cases now dismissed, President Marcos said he can focus fully on his duties.
Not really. I mean, the House is doing their job. I'm glad that, of course, I'm glad that now the impeachment complaints against me have been are finished. And as the statement that we made earlier, I'm happy it's done, and we can get on with our work. Because these things are distractions from the things that we were doing. Although I wasn't very worried because I saw the impeachment complaint, and I knew that I would be all right in terms of the impeachment. Because here, wala naman, there were no real grounds for the impeachment. It was a political move.
Mr. President,
as usual.
Sorry.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is keeping his distance from the impeachment complaints filed against Vice President Sara Duterte, saying the matter rests solely with the House of Representatives. In a brief interview in Malate, Manila, the president stressed he has no involvement in the new impeachment efforts and will leave the process entirely to lawmakers.
Now, I have no reaction. Hindi ko trabaho yan. Trabaho ng House. Pabayaan mo sila magtrabaho. I'm sure they will handle it properly. So let's let them do their jobs.
Impeachment complaints were filed against Duterte, one by members of the Makabayan Coalition and endorsed by the Makabayan Bloc, and another by progressive groups including Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Leila de Lima and Akbayan Party List Representative Percival Sendanya. The Makabayan endorsed complaint accuses Duterte of betrayal of public trust over alleged misuse of public funds. The second complaint cites culpable violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, bribery, and other high crimes. The filings come after the Supreme Court ruled that last year's impeachment articles against Duterte were unconstitutional.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang over the weekend announced that Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has formed an interagency organizing committee to lead preparations for the Philippines' participation in the Green Expo 2027 in Japan. Under Administrative Order or AO number 41, signed on February 4th, the President designated the Department of Agriculture as chair and the Department of Tourism as vice chair of the Philippine Organizing Committee. The panel also includes the heads of the Departments of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Industry, and Science and Technology, along with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts and the Center for International Trade Expositions and Missions. The order directs the committee to hold regular coordination meetings and oversee all preparations for the country's participation. The chairperson will serve as the Philippines' focal representative to the expo and may form subcommittees or assign lead agencies for specific thematic components. Malacañang said the initiative supports the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, particularly the administration's push for sustainable and competitive agriculture and the advancement of science, technology, and innovation. AO 41 also allows committee members to designate alternates with ranks not lower than Assistant Secretary. The body may tap other government agencies, private sector groups, NGOs, and the academe for technical support. All concerned agencies and encouraged local governments and private partners are instructed to extend full support to ensure the Philippines' successful participation. The committee must submit quarterly reports to the President through the Executive Secretary and the Department of Budget and Management, detailing expenses, income, accomplishments, economic impact, and policy recommendations. A final report is required after the expo concludes. Green Expo 2027, recognized by the Bureau International de Expositions and the International Association of Horticultural Producers, will run from March to September next year in Yokohama, Japan. With the theme Scenery of the Future for Happiness, the event will showcase biodiversity, sustainable agriculture, high-value crops, green technologies, ecotourism, and cultural heritage.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, has submitted to Malacañang its 125-day accomplishment report detailing what it described as substantial progress in its probe into alleged anomalies in flood control projects. Covering the period from September 15 to January 18, the ad hoc body reported filing 9 referrals with the Office of the Ombudsman involving 65 individuals and coordinating the referral of 66 more individuals to the Department of Justice or DOJ for possible issuance of Immigration Lookout Bulletin orders. The Commission logged 32 hearings with 36 witnesses, including 25 high-profile personalities, 7 senators, 13 House members, and 5 agency heads. It also conducted 16 site inspections nationwide, processed more than 1,100 documents, and issued 160 investigative communications, such as invitations and subpoenas. According to the report, the ICI's work contributed to the freezing of 6,692 bank accounts and the preservation, seizure, or surrender of assets worth an estimated 24.7 billion pesos based on Anti-Money Laundering Council data. The assets included 229 vehicles, 394 insurance policies, 161 real properties, 16 e-wallet accounts, 10 aircraft, and other holdings. The body also took part in 8 interagency meetings, assisted in 6 legislative sessions pushing for a permanent infrastructure watchdog, and submitted 2 position papers to Congress. It issued 146 formal communications, including data requests, recommendations, resolutions, and agreements with partner institutions. Malacañang earlier said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will determine the next steps for the Commission after reviewing its report. The ICI was created on September 11, 2025, through Executive Order No. 94 to investigate alleged corruption in flood control projects. At a separate briefing, Prosecutor General Richard Fadulion said, the DOJ will not rely solely on admissions made by persons of interest regarding supposed kickbacks, noting it is rather difficult to estimate the amounts involved. He added that some individuals managed to make multi-million peso restitution payments despite freeze orders on their known assets.
Dateline Malacañang.
The death toll from former tropical storm Bashang has risen to 12, while the number of affected families has climbed to 132,000. Office of Civil Defense or OCD spokesperson Junie Castillo said the figure represents about 467,000 individuals across 850 towns in the Visayas and Mindanao. All reported fatalities, 9 from northern Mindanao and 3 from Canaga, are still undergoing verification. The deaths were attributed to drowning and landslides. Castillo said clearing operations are underway, with at least 445 houses reported damaged, including 38 that were totally destroyed. Assessments for infrastructure and agricultural losses are still ongoing. Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Jose Milencio Nartates Jr. has ordered unit commanders to evaluate the condition of police facilities and personnel in affected areas to ensure smooth post-disaster operations. Initial reports show communication lines and supply chains remain functional in regional police offices. Police teams continue to assist local governments in search, rescue, and relief efforts.
Dateline Malacañang.
Reforms at the Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development or DSUD are now translating into concrete gains for families under Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s expanded Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program. DSUD Secretary Jose Ramon Aliling said the flagship housing initiative is hitting key milestones nationwide with continuous awarding of assistance and turnover of units, giving beneficiaries what he described as fresh hopes and long-awaited security of tenure. He credited the momentum to coordinated work across DSUD and its attached agencies following the President's directive to accelerate dignified housing for Filipino families. The department opened 2026 with a string of activities, awarding certificates of entitlement to long-pending beneficiaries in Palawan, distributing certificates of entitlements or COEs under the Enhanced Community Mortgage Program or ECMP, launching rental housing projects in Quezon City, Iloilo City, and Victorias, and turning over house and lot packages in Occidental Mindoro. All socialized housing projects, both subdivision type and condominium type, are now under the Pag-ibig Fund's expanded 4PH, which offers a subsidized 3% home loan rate for middle and working class families. Aliling recalibrated the program to widen coverage, adding horizontal development, rental and incremental housing, ECMP, presidential proclamations, and urban housing to ensure more sectors benefit. Recent beneficiaries in Iloilo City described the impact as life-changing. Joven Apollo Turga, representing 213 families in Haro, said securing legal land tenure after 27 years brought long-sought peace of mind. Alice Rose Sigumalian, speaking for 367 families in Mirasolville, was emotional as she thanked the administration for finally resolving their decades-old concerns. Aliling said stories like these drive DSUD to push harder, noting that the president's 8-point agenda, anchored on integrity, transparency, and zero tolerance for corruption, has helped rebuild trust in the agency. He added that the reforms have encouraged stronger private sector participation, with reputable developers and quadruple A contractors now taking part in the expanded 4PH rollout.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the latest Octa research, Tugon ng Masa survey, shows that public confidence in the government remains strong, with 55% of Filipinos expressing trust in the administration's ability to address the country's major problems. Meanwhile, 20% said they do not trust the government, while 25% remain undecided. Trust in government was highest in the Visayas at 68%, while both the National Capital Region and Balanced Luzon registered 49%. The survey also found that 61% of Filipinos believe lawmakers and local officials do not value the voices of ordinary citizens. Only 31% said they feel heard by their leaders. Octa noted that the findings highlight how maintaining public trust requires not only effective governance but also a clear demonstration that officials genuinely value the perspectives and concerns of the people. The survey was conducted from December 3 to 11, 2025 through face-to-face interviews with 1,200 respondents nationwide.
Dateline Malacañang.
The National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or NTF-LCAC, denounced the new People's Army, or NPA, over the killing of a 74-year-old grandmother in Negros, calling it another case of civilians being targeted under the rebels' long-used spy tagging tactic. NTF-LCAC Executive Director Undersecretary Ernesto Torres Jr. said the death of Leonor Anguiat fits a disturbing pattern in which the NPA brands ordinary residents as informants before carrying out summary executions meant to intimidate entire communities. He said initial reports show the attackers openly identified themselves as NPA members, searched specifically for Anguiat, separated her from others, and shot her at close range. Torres described the method as a familiar cycle of accusing without evidence, threatening without mercy, and killing without due process. According to the task force, Anguiat was targeted after NPA members previously used her property and later suffered losses in clashes with government forces. Torres said the rebels shifted blame onto an elderly civilian instead of owning responsibility for their actions. He added that the killing mirrors a documented pattern in Negros, where farmers, laborers, tricycle drivers, barangay officials, forest guards, vendors, and community leaders were slain last year after being labeled as informants.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, Interior and Local Government Secretary John Vic Remulla said authorities are intensifying efforts to track down Charlie Atong Ang, who remains wanted in connection with the disappearance of several cockfighting enthusiasts. Remulla said all indications point to Ang still being in the Philippines after Cambodia's foreign ministry confirmed that he never entered the country. The clarification directly contradicts earlier claims from witness Julie Patidongan, a former associate of Ang, who said he had fled to Cambodia. In a statement dated February 6, Cambodia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said there's no record of Charlie Chu Hai Ang's entry or exit at any of its border checkpoints, adding that the clarification aims to dispel reports that Ang may be hiding there while Philippine police search for him. Remulla earlier confirmed that the Philippine National Police, or PNP, deployed personnel to Cambodia to verify the reports. Patidongan is now a government witness in the case involving the missing Sabongeros. Ang has been declared a most wanted person, with the DILG offering a 10 million peso reward for information leading to his arrest. Meanwhile, PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said the development reflects the strong cooperation between the Philippines and its partner countries in enforcing the law and pursuing justice. He said the pursuit of Ang and other fugitives remains aggressive, in line with President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive to go after all individuals involved in high-profile cases and ensure justice for the victims and their families. The warrants of arrest issued against Ang and several other suspects stem from cases of kidnapping with homicide, as well as kidnapping and serious illegal detention, connected to the investigation into the disappearance of the missing cockfighting enthusiasts.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service can be heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 12.020 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.665 MHz. Radyo Pilipinas World Service is also live on audio streaming. Just download eBox PBS Receiver on your Google Play Store or the App Store from your Apple phone. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Just type in and search for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.